he's been arguably the best defensive back in football since like day one freshman year at Alabama. Like I compare him to like just a mix of like Bob Sanders and Troy Polamalu, which is just so absurdly high in praise.
Hello, welcome to Football 301. I am your host, Nate Tice. Another great show for you today. We're getting back into the prospect preview series for the 2026 NFL draft. Get that SEO in there. Got to say all of it. Got to say NFL, got to say draft, got to say 2026. We're getting it all in that intro, but we're going to hit some more defensive guys today. We grouped together the linebackers and the DBs. Not that they're not interesting. It's actually a really nice linebacker class, but more just, I think, for posterity's sake, and also just, condensing school schedule, as I talked out with producer Stone. But anyways, let's get to it. To help me do that, even though his name is an offensive concept, he's my defensive prospect guy, Mr. Forverts, Charles McDonald. Great to see you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's 78 degrees in New York City today.
Oh,
I've looked out into the future forecast, and it appears we have beaten the winter. We got a couple more days of 40s, and then in the next week, 60s, 70s every day. So, I was walking around outside. I got a t-shirt on. It's good to feel alive again. It's really good stuff.
We're getting to like 90 something here in Vegas, but it's now back down. It's 82 now, so we're okay. That's normal. March is usually the best month here, March and April, but we get back down. So perfect weather for New York when I get there next month. Because I was getting a little scared. We got to figure out the TSA lines and the weather. Weather, we're already checking that off, and then we'll see with flying out JFK. I'm kind of interested in that experience for a 7 a.m. flight on Sunday.
If you got pre-check, you'll be fine. If not, we'll see.
I like to live dangerously, so we'll see how that goes. But knock on wood, I've never missed a flight in my entire life, and I just jinxed it right there. But I've never, other than connections, I've never missed my initial flight, and I've flown probably 5,000 times in my life. Some of them with the team, which helps, but other instances as well. There's been some early mornings. I'm surprised I made those flights too. But anyways, let's get to the prospects. No real news right now, which is actually, I wouldn't say refreshing, but just a change of pace. We had the JSN signing earlier, but again, we've been doing this prospect series. We had running backs and tight ends. Me and Connor Rogers did that last week. Chuck joined me last Thursday to do defensive line and edges because it's a very fun class there, very deep class. A lot of guys to pick apart and group them together. But then today we got linebackers, off-ball variation, and corners and safeties and slots, the back seven, if you will. And let's just jump into it. Let's go into this linebacker class. We talked about Arvell Reese from Ohio State last week. We considered him more of an edge, but kind of a hybrid guy. I really do think he can excel at both. And I actually think that all the kind of concern about scheme fit, positional fit, I actually think more defenses are varied enough that he'll fit any type of defense right now. There's actually only a couple that I wouldn't like. Their defensive coordinators and defensive play callers will find a role for him. And I think you're just betting on the ability and that versatility to be a high-end guy there. But let's get to his teammate, Sonny Styles, also from Ohio State. A guy that we on our consensus board had at 7, but both consider a top 10 guy. Styles blew up the combine. Also a fun little tidbit. His nickname is Sonny, off of Sonny Corleone from The Godfather, because he had a little bit of a temper. So just avoid the toll booths and he'll be good. But Sonny Styles plays off ball. He does edge stuff as well in that Matt Patricia scheme. Patricia's scheme, that it's got some Bill Belichick stuff, but that's what they'll do. They'll have these off-ball guys line on the edge. They kind of have to do both depending on the play call. But Styles has experience doing that as well, which I think is a plus in his favor, but has a lot of off-ball attributes. Smart, converted safety, but long and big, just a modern off-ball linebacker that can do it all, but also has, I think, the intelligence and awareness to kind of diagnose plays quickly and take advantage of his athletic ability and range. But when you watch Styles, Chuck, how much did you like him? How do you see him fit in the NFL? And how high would you take an off-ball linebacker?
I don't know. I haven't seen him run a back drill. I didn't see any clips of that yesterday, so I'm a little conflicted, You said there's nothing going on.
Do you want to see the 45-degree angle bag drill or the completely turned from 12 to 6 bag drill that people are really extrapolating on?
I mean, I love watching football practice. It's riveting, like watching drills. I mean, for those who don't know, I mean, I was honestly stunned this week to see the news out of the Ohio State Pro Day, which was not, a major injury or, someone like cursing off a prospective employer. It was Arvell Reese kind of ran half a bag drill a little bit slow, and it went super duper viral. People ask is this going to affect his draft stock? I'm like, no. I don't know what this is. I saw a tweet that had 12,000 likes. It was a still of Ruben Bain and Arvell Reese doing the bag drill. They were doing different drills, but a still, that's how you're going to measure anything. A still at a pro day. And once you decide you're not doing the 40-yard dash, now you're just having football practice without pads in front of people functionally. You're just going through drills. This is crazy. But clearly we got to find something to talk about, and that was the hot topic of the week to go along with some bizarre quarterback takes. But Arvell Reese's teammate, Sonny Styles, I mean, it's this is honestly kind of a cool moment to me because there just aren't many guys left in the NFL that I guess we would say, this guy's an elite off-ball linebacker. We have Fred Warner, who got hurt last year. Roquan Smith has really fallen off. Not to say he's terrible now, but definitely not
more good than elite. Yeah,
more good than elite. I mean, they've had to tinker around with Kyle Hamilton for the past couple seasons for a reason, at times, and figuring out where they want to place him on the defense. So to kind of get someone who at least has this profile, I think it's kind of interesting because now if Sonny is who we think he is, and I think he's a pretty clear, for me, prospect that could be a high end Pro Bowl level linebacker off the ball. Is he more valuable because this is going to be something that no one else has? Literally, if he can end up that ceiling, being as good as or in the realm of say a Fred Warner type, that is interesting wrench to throw into the draft evaluation because maybe part of the reason why we view linebackers so low sometimes is because we haven't had one of those guys who can do everything, or maybe guys haven't panned out in the way we thought. But if he can be that, man, that ends up being something that maybe one other team has right now, and it's going to be on the backside of 30 coming off of an injury. I mean, if you have the best linebacker in the league, especially with how offensive play today, I just feel that'd be such a valuable weapon. And I think that along with not the strongest class at the top could get him drafted into the top 5, which is something you don't really see from inside linebackers or off-ball linebacker prospects. The last one had to be Roquan Smith, right? Had to.
He was up there. Devin Bush got drafted high.
Devin Bush did too. Yes.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think who else got drafted high. I mean, Kuechly was a while ago, but those are the ones that come to mind at least for me. Yeah, exactly. There just hasn't really been candidates for it. Right. Styles is different, and this is the perfect draft class to have a just because the lack of quote unquote premium positions. I'll just say offensive positions: quarterbacks, receivers, tackles, or even corners and edges. The edges are all good to very good, but maybe not that true blue chip guys. They all have so many blemishes. So it's kind of that perfect class that a off ball player might get drafted high. I've been thinking a lot on this, and you've touched on it before about that kind of if there's not a lot out there that can be not just play, but also just be good or a standard deviation above, that's what replacement level matters. How much better are you than the replacement level or the average player at that position? Baseball does this, with WAR and WAA. And I think with football, I think about that a lot with Fred Warner. It's shouldn't that be valued more because he's the one guy that actually is a game changer at that position, and the guys that can even just be good at the position are just so much you could feel their impact on the game. I also think about just where the stresses are of how defenses are playing. If you play more too high, the stresses get put on the nickel. That's why we see so many slot guys now kind of being stars, but also on the off-ball linebackers because they have to be two-way players, and same with the safeties a little bit as well. And so I think about that all the time because that's what the 49ers want to play. And that's why Fred Warner can do it. It works really well. And even the Jets under Saleh had two pretty solid linebackers in Mosley, even though if he wasn't the best, but also Quincy Williams. They kind of just had a nice pair there that can make it work. I think about it a ton. But Roquan Smith is a good example because when he's taking that drop off or when he... What was that?
Yeah, I would say there has been another top another top top high end draft pick on an off ball linebacker.
Not Jamal Adams. He doesn't count.
Not Jamal Adams. But it's kind of the same thing.
Can you guess my? Barron? Mark Barron?
No. Since Roquan, there's been one top 5 pick on an off ball linebacker, Devin White, in 2019, the year after.
Oh, Devin White.
Roquan.
That's right.
That was a fever dream, man. Remember after that Super Bowl when people were saying he was the best linebacker in football?
Best linebacker in the league.
The best linebacker on his own team, you know?
And that wasn't Twitter saying that. That was the NFL personnel saying that he was the best linebacker in the league. And that was insane.
Crazy. Insane. And then Isaiah Simmons.
All because they ran 2-man every play, and he just... what they call a hug rush. He just blitzed the running back every single in 2-man. That's literally what his production was off of. And he's so freaking fast that no one can block it. I forgot he drafted so high. I remember it, but I forgot it. I'm trying to think. Anyone else is Barron.
Isaiah Simmons was drafted 8th overall.
Okay, and he was his own thing. That was just that was pure athleticism. That's when the Cardinals were taking every hybrid player possible. The other little stat I looked at too before we even jump into more of these players is with more tight end usage right now, and that's a big talking point, is that base personnel, which is 4 DBs, typically 3 linebackers, or in a 3-4, but 2 off-ball linebackers at the very least. Base rates are at the highest it's been since 2017 on early downs, 35%. In 2023, just 2 years ago, it was 25%, 10% lower, and that was an all-time low. I looked at since 2013. I could probably look before that on True Media. But why I'm saying that is because teams are using more tight ends, jumbo line, fullbacks. Offenses are running the ball better against those. Offenses are averaging more EPA per play against those looks. So you need more linebackers that are valid. If you look at the Texans, that Texans defense, and continuing the 49ers defense that we're talking about with Saleh and all those guys, is that when Alshire is on the field, that defense is one of the best defenses in the league. When he was hurt or suspended, they fall off a cliff. And To'o playing okay helps out so much, but that was always the big weakness. They had so many stars at the front and on the back end, but the linebackers kind of just... That was actually the key cog of it all. So like Alshire is another great example of this, but that's kind of what I'm referring to, is that these guys are needed to function how defenses want to function right now. But Styles, though, is one of those dudes. I think that's the long or the short of it. Good blitzer, has range, sideline to sideline. He has it. It's different than Devin White's speed. He actually has play recognition. Styles does. Like, he actually has a true Mike linebacker mentality as far as can diagnose a play and then trigger on it. I mean, great. What else? Got length. I'm trying to think what else was Styles. I mean, he's just such a good player. He's fun.
We were talking, or our friend Ben Solak mentioned to us the other day that, it made me kind of think about his projection that, Sonny's his first year like a linebacker wasn't the smoothest at times. Like when he had to move from safety down and he was trying to figure stuff out. But the fact that he was able to get so much better over the course of a year. It's kind of like the Monroe Freeling thing. It's like, oh man, I was really sure, this time last year that we would be talking about you as like a potential top 5 or top 10 pick. Depending how you project these guys, and I think that's kind of exciting for the future because you're kind of new to this. You were really good at it, and you have the size to be elite size at 6'5", 240 or 6'4", 240. Yep. Got the speed, got the range, and obviously the recognition took a huge jump. It pains me to say, but Matt Patricia was kind of good for those guys on defense last year as far as getting ready for the NFL. I've been laughing as we go through this. Like, man, this defense, they could have 3 top 10 picks, maybe 3 of the top 5 players in this class, and they didn't win a playoff game. That is wild.
And a first round nose.
And another first round pick. Right.
And a round 3 edge. Yeah, I know. And other guys that could play or day 2 corner. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, I know. Julian saying through yesterday. Someone asked me because I started talking about some of the quarterbacks for next year's class, and I never mentioned saying, and they go, did you forget him, or was that what I think you're saying? And I'm like, that's what you think I'm saying. I don't consider him in that tier as that I'm seeing others consider him that he is to me. round 3 at best right now. If I'll get to the too early big board in a month or two once I get to that. But Sane will not be on there. I'll put it that way. I think there will be a couple other guys way above that. But no, Styles worth the top 10 pick, especially in this class. Can fit in any type of defense. He's a senior, but he's a young senior. He's only 21 right now. Turns 22 in November. Has all the size, length, speed, all that good stuff. Checks every box of a modern linebacker. Now, next 2 guys are interesting. CJ Allen from Georgia, Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas. Now, cards on the table. I had Anthony Hill as a top 15 player entering the season. I was very high on him, kind of cooled on him after I watched 2 games at midseason, kind of just on that kind of where I have him now, kind of just outside the top 30. Watched him later, and now I've compared him to Allen, and I'm kind of back to my initial feeling on these 2 where I like Hill just a little bit better than Allen. Allen, though, smart, again, a true Mike. Like can do everything kind of well, very smart. I think maybe just doesn't have that high-end trait that you can point at. So let's start with him as a Georgia Bulldog fan. CJ Allen, I mean, since day one that he's been out there, he was wearing 33, I think, originally. As a true freshman, you could just feel how smart and how good he was. But what do you think about CJ Allen and kind of where you consider him in this draft?
It's like, man, I wish I could fuse these guys together. CJ Allen.
I know.
That would just be perfect linebacker prospect. Like that'd be bona fide top 5 pick this year. But it's just I mean, it's just the range. Really, I think is the only detractor. But even then, like it's still easy to see how he could be like a key cog for an NFL defense. Even if you have range concerns, it's still tough to find like guys who are 18 taking control of Georgia's defense, like Kirby Smart's and you're giving you the range, and you're getting seniors having to transfer within the conference so they can get you on the field, which is what happened when CJ got to Georgia. And like I think he was probably their most like important defender this year, just in terms of like they had a lot of inconsistent play, I think, up front with some of their defensive linemen. It kind of settled out like throughout the course of the game or throughout the course of the season, but he was really kind of the stabilizing force. And it's like he's like classic 3-4 like inside linebacker. The comp that kind of came to my head just when I was thinking about this was like the David Harris type of player, like that Rex had, where and it's not always a rangiest guy, but still someone who made a ton of plays within that defense and was a huge cog for that. So it's not the cleanest, like I can see why people are kind of down on him, but man, like I really do think like just the the ability to I like his physicality and love the smarts, and he's not like so unathletic that you wouldn't say I don't want him on my defense. It's just like maybe not athletic enough for like in a normal year, you probably would be looking at this guy like more top of the second round than late first. But still, I think he's early starter, long-term starter, just maybe the ceiling's cap, but definitely someone you want on your defense if you have a whole linebacker.
He is the classic, and this is the one that you can be a backhanded compliment sometimes. High floor. He is high floor all the way. Like, just, I know what I'm getting with CJ Allen, and I mean that in a very good way. But if you're a team that's just like, man, they don't, maybe not like Devin Lloyd and stuff, but like, like the Buffalo. Panthers, or even the Jags on day 2 actually be a great team for him. But just a team that just kind of someone that needs an off-ball guy that's like, you're the stabilizing force. Shoot, the Texans. If Alshire kind of going on, as he gets older and everything. But just teams like that just needs somebody there that's a good, solid starter. You kind of just know what you're getting with him. But yeah, I agree with you. He really is more like an early day 2 guy. Man, maybe, God, as I'm talking this out, I've got a lot of questions from Bills people about CJ Allen. It's kind of an interesting fit. Oh, give it another Jim Leonard's back. Yeah, just talking about David Harris as a fit or as a potential comp. Stabilize it.
So that's
a great call, and that's a comfortable range to take him. I think we've mocked him there. Once or twice. Yeah, no, that's a really good. I was looking up EJ Henderson.
That's a good one too. Yes, yeah.
As soon as it said early day 2, because that's when my dad drafted EJ, but it was like that's what came to mind. I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of him. He was a tackling machine, wasn't a plus athlete. He's kind of just solid, but had size and everything. Oh man, Bills is a great fit for him. Actually, I kind of just want that. Because, again, just stabilizing force in what should be a really funky defense. He can do a lot. We're getting into Hill, though. Hill is a much better athlete. I think he has real range, can sometimes get himself in trouble, can be a little bit one of those classic over anxious, sees it so fast and he goes and he just kind of runs himself out of the play. But I think really as the season wore on, his second half of this year, it was funny. Last year's tape was good. First half of this year's tape, I was kind of iffy on. That's why I cooled on him. And then the second half of this year, I think he chilled out. It was kind of like he epitomized Texas as a whole, him and Arch. Like they kind of just like chilled out in the second half of the year and like kind of really started stabilizing a little bit. But he has the more traits than Allen. And I actually think his diagnosis, like his awareness and his IQ is pretty good, actually. And that's what makes me more optimistic. But has real range, good blitzer, too, because he has some, again, dynamic athleticism and some bend. But yeah, Hill is a guy I'm rewarming. I'm microwaving back up. And I consider these two in the same tier, just different flavors, but I'll probably flop them on our final big board in a couple weeks. I'll probably have these two flop, but kind of that same late first, early second range. But what'd you think about Hill?
Yeah, I had these guys about the same tier. I know I had CJ in late 20s. I think I had Hill early 30s. I mean, it to me, it's kind of like it's kind of like choose your flavor here a little bit. Although I definitely agree. Like Anthony just got more upside, and I'm with you because when I watched this stuff earlier, I'm like, oh man, like. Is this like Stephon Anthony again, where you're the biggest, baddest athlete on the field? And I fell for Stephon because he had this one play against Florida State where he like blitzed through on the outside zone and cut him down. And I was like, that's one of the fastest things I've ever seen. And man, he had this wheel route that he covered against like a 1180-pound slot receiver. Like, man, you got 70 pounds in this guy. How could you not work out?
Like, just calm him down and just watch. And just watch. He'll be fine. Streamline him.
Just watch. Right. But Anthony's definitely better than that. And I think he got better as the season went on. I mean, obviously, like that whole team got a lot better as the season went on. But like he's someone like where when you watch like the upside plays, like your imagination starts to wonder, like, man, like we can get him to do this all the time. You know, that now we're talking about someone who can have like, you know, the impact of someone who's a potential top 10 pick in the draft. And sometimes I guess like it's like I guess I wonder sometimes like based on the early season stuff, like, does he need like that big brother next to him? Does he need the Nakobe Dean to his Quay Walker? Like it's not that bad. But you know, maybe like if you hand him the green dot as a rookie, maybe he gets a little overwhelmed because that's what it seemed like was going on last year. Whereas with CJ, with CJ, I'm like, man, you know the plays better than I do, so you go take that green dot, and we'll take the limitations from there. But man, like you said, like the ability like to be an attacker, I think at his frame and his size and speed is really, really special. And that's kind of like what you're banking on there. And that's kind of what a lot of these guys are like, just in this whole class in general. Like, you know, we're seeing one thing that we really like. We're hoping that we can like hone that in. And with him, it's range, speed, physicality, because that's what he really does at his best.
Yeah. Measuring 6'2", 238, 32, and essentially half-inch arms, big hands, almost 10-inch hands. Yeah, he actually tested. Allen didn't test at the combine, and Hill did. Hill ran a 4.51, 37-inch vert, 10.5 broad, 21-inch bench. So 21 bench, I'm sorry. So, again, didn't do the shuttles. No one does the shuttles anymore. But I can see it on tape. He's not as stiff. It's just more about making sure that he, again, chills out, which he's young, so that's why I'm hoping I'm more optimistic on it. Any other guys that you've maybe looked at? Those are the guys that made our top 50. Any other guys that you want to throw in here as maybe just have some thoughts on, you're a little warmer on, you're a little cooler on, want to plant a flag, anything of that sort?
You know, guys, I know because okay, I'll say this. I did warm up a little bit to Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I was talking to a friend Deontay about it, and he was like, you know, like he's probably could be like a capable starter in the NFL, and he did have, and honestly, he had a better combine, I think, than I was expecting him to have, or better workouts in terms of, some of the movement stuff. Because when I watched him at Texas Tech, I honestly was like, man, this kind of feels like another epic like college linebacker that you never hear from him again.
I don't want to say Scooby Wright because it's just he's so much better than Scooby Wright.
He's better than Scooby Wright. Yeah,
I was getting a little bit of that vibe at first.
Feel, man, dude, there were some arguments about Paul Dawson. People were stunned when he ran like that 4.9. I'm like, man, he's backdooring every run play. He's not getting anywhere close.
I know. That's how he plays.
But yeah, Jacob Rodriguez, I think, can be a capable starter. The one guy that I don't get that I've seen mocked in like the top 100 or in top 100 big boards is Deontay Lawson from Alabama. I mean, honestly, I don't really have anything to say because it would just be kind of overtly mean. But when I was watching their defense, Alabama's defense, just for their prospects and obviously like some of the offensive line that they go against, man, just not in the right place, not playing physical. He's got a little range, got a little speed, but what does it matter if you're not going anywhere? So I've been really confused by him. Being in the top 100, because it still feels like we're doing helmet scouting as that becomes less and less important. Like we see like Mendoza doubt, as if Indiana can't just go buy a football team and buy a head coach like they did this year. It's not the same thing. Right. Just with 16-0, we're still like,
blood after blue blood.
No. Yeah, and he was a first round prospect coming into the season, not number one overall, but like. The rise that he had, we see it all the time. So, I still feel like people doing some helmet scouting. And I think that is actually benefiting Deontay Lawson because I just don't really see an NFL player there.
Yeah, I'm low on him too. I consider him a round 4 guy. Rodriguez to me didn't wow me. I'm going to have him in my top 75, top 100, but I view him as a round 3 guy. Good athlete. It's just kind of like, it sounds mean. He's better athlete than like a physical guy. Like he doesn't really hit anybody, and I know that sounds so arbitrary and so high school scouting, but it's just like that's kind of, he's a good athlete, like I could see it, but he just doesn't have that kind of oomph that maybe I'm looking for. He kind of like lets a lot of when he's tackling a guy, he lets them fall forward on him, and I know that again that sounds arbitrary, but it kind of shows up when you watch him play after play. But I do see like him in space, like you recognize the screens well. I just kind of was just like, okay, I was fine with him. Trotter I liked from Mizzou, Josiah Trotter. Yes, Trotter, linebacker. It's exactly what you think. And he plays like a linebacker with the last name Trotter because he's just a hammerhead. Got some Nick Bolton to him, maybe. Maybe that's maybe I consider it. Again, this is another round 3 guy, but I like him a little bit more than Rodriguez because I just like that physicality to him. Range is, I'd say his range actually isn't like terrible. Like I think he's actually probably solid range, maybe a little better than you expect. But yeah, he's another guy that I consider in this kind of range. Maybe I have a little bit warmer on. Also, I'm glad I brought up. Jake Galday from Cincinnati. I think he should be an edge.
Yeah.
I talk about not hitting anybody. He can move and he can run, but he's just not physical at all. And that gets me a little worried. So I'd much rather have him at the edge spot than as an off-ball player. And the last guy, because I feel like this guy's been relevant for like 20 years, Harold Perkins from LSU, who of course blew up his pro day, even if those LSU numbers might be a little bit juiced. And Baton Rouge, I mean, everything else is juiced there. We'll see basketball coaches they're getting now. Everybody, they've spent like $500 million on their sports programs. But he's a slot to me, Perkins. That's always been. Maybe just I'll give him a shot. If you're trying to get interesting late round 3 into round 4, that's what this draft class kind of is. But we're gonna take our first.
I was say, if you're a deep cut draft guy, we had debates about this guy named Eric Stryker from Oklahoma back in the day, who people were comparing to Elvis Dumervil because he was just this small little guy who rushed off the edge. But no. Like running a 4.8 220 against NFL offensive tackles, not going to fly. But Harold Perkins, I don't know, but he's made a lot of plays. He can't be the best player in defense, but maybe you can find a little cheese roll for him to go out there and just running hits. If Kenneth Murray can play, maybe he can be like a little fake Will somewhere. I don't know.
Can he play special teams? Like he could be a special teams demon for you, maybe. Yeah, start him out there and see how he does. Maybe you can find a package for him. All right, we're gonna take our first break and we're gonna come back with some cornerbacks, a lot of slots. See you guys in a sec. All right, we are back with the cornerbacks, not the quarterbacks. Doing quarterbacks next week with Derek. That'll be fun. Derek Klassen from The Athletic. He'll be joining me for quarterbacks on Tuesday. But yeah, cornerbacks, which fun class. I mean, fun. Maybe fun's a little extreme, but it's there's some cool players. They're just all imperfect. Stop me if you heard that before about this draft class. I would say the consensus top 2, really the consensus top 4, is Mansour Delane from LSU, Jermon McCoy from Tennessee, Avion Terrell from Clemson, that's AJ Terrell's brother, and Colton Hood from Tennessee as well. I would say those guys are kind of the 4 locked in kind of guys. Really, it's the top 2, Delane and McCoy, kind of been in their same tier, so we'll start with them. Delane, transfer from Virginia Tech, really good zone corner. Love his play recognition. I love his ball skills. Tested very well. Maybe got that LSU pro day bump going on there, but still, I didn't really have a ton of concerns with his athleticism. I know others did, but I always thought he was a good athlete, maybe not overwhelming. But I mean, he tested good enough. But I think great awareness, great ability to close on the football when he sees something like slants and underneath routes. I think he's going to be a dynamic zone corner that can hang in man coverage and single high stuff too, because of his ball skills, awareness, and just, I don't know, movement ability. He just has that little twitch to him that I really like. Some AJ Terrell to him. I know I've talked about Avian Terrell, but kind of got some AJ Terrell to him when I watch him. But Delane was a top 10 guy for me. I think he was very high up for you as well. But what'd you think about him from LSU?
I mean, I liked him enough, like he doesn't get me, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't get me excited the way like Quinion Mitchell did a few years ago when you were just like, oh my God, like you're checking like every single box, like even for a small guy. Cause I know, I saw, I think that was his NFL.com comparison. And I guess I understand it from like a frame standpoint, but, I don't know. I don't know. Like, okay, so the way I feel about Mansour is like he's an easy starter to me. And I think someone like anyone who can play man coverage has like added value. But it's not. It ain't Derek Stingley. It's not like Sauce Gardner coming out. No. I think if you're and really probably any of these cornerbacks. If you're like expecting them to come in and be like this eraser guy, that might not happen. But like as a capable, 1B or, just like the, maybe a leadoff guy for an overall strong unit, he's got a lot of value there. It's just like, okay, like if you've got Delane, and that's your best cornerback, you might still be in trouble. But I do think like he can be like one of a really strong starting piece on a good defense. Down the road. I just don't know if I see like top flight, like shutdown corner with him.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I don't see the elite tools or that elite tape like Stingley. Like that's a guy you mentioned. Jalen Ramsey is the best DB I've ever watched. It's not that. Jalen Ramsey was swallowing guys. He was like a hawk out there, like with a bunch of sparrows around him. Like those were a different animal. Even Darrelle Revis, who was a top 15 pick, he was a little different animal. Obviously, definitely a different animal in the NFL. But I would say with Delane, and that's why I brought up maybe AJ Terrell, where it's like I feel like Terrell was kind of that, even though he got some all pro stuff in his career where he's good. He is a good starter. Is he elite? No. Could he touch very good at times? I do think there's certain matchups and certain stuff that he is very good. But I think you always, and look how Falcons defenses have been, kind of ebbs and flows with others around him. It's not just him wiping out an entire side. And also I think he'd be better in zone, that where you can use his intelligence, use his ball skills, but he's good enough that if you want to get into some funky looks or you want to play man, he can hold up well enough. And also just doesn't have that overwhelming length. I think AJ Terrell is actually a little bigger, but Delane has got 30-inch arms. He was 187, 6 foot, but it's just not that length that can maybe help overcome that. But I really liked him. Like he actually really grew on me. At first I was like, oh, whatever, but he really grew on me as I watched more and more of him, because he never just gets himself in bad spots. And I think there is something to that, even if he doesn't have those high end ability and traits. McCoy, like you're mentioning, maybe none of these guys really touch the elite. If there were one guy, he would be one. Because he does have that length and that speed and loose hips, can be physical when needed. He's got good ball skills. He just didn't play in all 2025 because he suffered a ACL injury in 2024. That's
just that one thing,
that's his draft class. That's his thing. Because this draft class just wants to just make it hard on everybody.
Dude, I do remember during the season, and I think this will be something to track just moving forward for him, because honestly, like when we talk about like injuries, pre-draft, like guys who have injuries, I forget all the time. Like once we get to league, like guys we were talking about, and just I don't know, because I feel like we talk about pre-draft injury concerns, and I'll forget who we were talking about, and it doesn't really matter. But this guy was like supposed to play last year. And it never happened, because I remember I was watching, once I started looking at like, okay, who's in the draft, and I see, okay, this is Jamon McCoy. He's got no games. Like, what's going on here? Okay, so he got hurt, and then every week when I checked, it's like, okay, Tennessee there, and this is like later in the season, they're preparing for him to come back next week. Mm-hmm. Never quite happened, which is a little concerning. But man, like his film's good. The film when he played was good, and he's a young guy too. I think he's only 20 years old right now. So, like when you talk about like the stuff you've seen, like that's 18, 19-year-old stuff as a true sophomore, where he looks like a legit like cornerback one. So, like hopefully he's healthy enough to kind of get back. Like he's young enough for you hope he can get back. But you're right. Like if there is a guy to kind of punch through to that upper echelon ceiling, he's probably got the best chance in terms of trades, which we haven't seen in a year.
Yeah, right. And that's his thing. It's like that's why it's been so hard for me to put him on the big board. It's like, and I think I'll have him higher than I think I have him that 18 or so, but I like his tape is just so good. The Jeremiah Smith battle was fun. Smith got him a couple times the year he did play. I was first aware of McCoy when he was at Oregon State. And then he went to Tennessee, and then because our guy Justice, we talked about him. And then, and I think, I don't know. He has the move. He just moves like one of those top guys. I know that again. That sounds simplistic. It's kind of a similar discussion maybe with Delaney McCoy, with kind of just similar flavor discussion. It was like the Hill Allen discussion, where McCoy has more of that ability, even if it's not all refined, but it's good. It's not like he's raw, but he has more stuff that he can kind of tap into. And I think, coming back from injury, I think that's why I'm more optimistic, is because he has those athletic traits, or at least I could theorize about the athletic traits, about how he moves and everything. But I really like both of these guys. They're just at slightly different flavors of guys, and just got some different traits and qualities with them too. Avian Terrell, though, I think we're both fans. We were talking about AJ Terrell a couple times, but Avian Terrell from Clemson, feisty, quick, got some burst to him. I love how he closes on the ball, and he just got that kind of knack for ball skills, how to punch stuff out. At the point of catch. Why does it sound like catch point? But Terrell, though, I know you've kind of you've liked him throughout this process. What'd you think? Kind of like your final thoughts, maybe, on Terrell.
Honestly, like he reminds me of his brother. In a way that's kind of interesting, because I remember, because I remember when AJ Terrell got drafted, or I guess when he was going through the draft process, I remember I didn't watch him until he was going through, until he had gone through the combine. He didn't have the greatest combine. He ran like over 7 seconds in 3 cone. The jumps weren't outstanding, like his brother. But then I watched the film and I was like, man, that combine is not telling the whole story of like how just fluid he is as a player. Cause like the ability to like mirror and stay in front of guys and run with them was really strong. But what has stopped AJ from being, a dominant cornerback is like, it's like the lack of like super duper high end athleticism. He can do all the things you want to see from a cornerback. And then, I see Mike Evans twice a year, and that ends up usually going really, really badly for him. But, most of the time, like that's someone that you want out there. And I think that like the movement skills are obviously similar to his brother. I think he's probably going to have to like take that path of just being more of a, maybe a technician that relies on just being able to stay in front of guys without the overwhelming like Jalen Ramsey, Surtain, Stingley level athleticism. But like that's a role that you can have in this league. I kind of wonder if he's going to be a slot player moving forward. Which I think would kind of fit his skill set, because like you said, he's not quite as big as AJ, even though they do move similar. But I still like him. I still like him a lot. I know some people have kind of cooled him in because he's not a super athlete, but I never thought that anyways when I was watching the film. So I'm not all too concerned. And I think that this is a guy who could be like a CB2, maybe a slot corner if things go well. Again, if he's your best corner on your team, probably not going too well. But as like a strong piece, especially if you have a good CB1, I think this is someone who can flourish.
Yeah, it's you always look at the O-line, kind of the weak link. Like, okay, if this guy's your offensive lineman 2, if he's your offensive lineman 4, okay, we're cooking. You can kind of do that with DBs. And I think that's a good way to play Terrell. If he's your CB2, okay. If he's your third best DB, oh man, you got a great defensive backfield going. Like, that's kind of how I look at him.
When Jesse Bates showed up, that was a fun duo for them, Then
Terrell looked, it kind of really boosted everybody. Yeah, exactly. He's got some... I liked this guy a little bit more, but Terrell's like a Diet Coke version of Devin Witherspoon with the Seahawks, where he's not the biggest, but he can play outside, he can play inside. I keep saying Terrell's not the biggest, but he has 31-inch arms, which is fine enough. 186,
the weight is where it goes.
Yeah, he's just a little skinny. And Witherspoon was 181 at the combine, 31.25-inch arms. Witherspoon just had a little bit more like high-end twitch and explosiveness. Well, I think Terrell's just maybe a muted version of that, but outside, inside, feisty, great ball skills, forces fumbles, can just get his hands on balls and disrupt, good awareness. I think Terrell can handle himself in man coverage. I think the bigger guys will give him some issues, like they do to a lot of corners, but he can do it, which is nice. You're just opening up roles for these guys, and versatility for the defense and the play calls and stuff. So I really like Terrell. I feel like a guy taking him in the 20s, I'm super comfortable with that. And I think that's where I have him slated on my last big board. I'll kind of be in that mid-20s range. Outside, inside, feisty, even if just maybe not, again, not that high-end stuff. But so Witherspoon, kind of Diet Coke Witherspoon is my comparison. Getting on to Colton Hood, Tennessee teammate of Jamal McCoy. Colton Hood, I believe, tested like a monster in Indianapolis, but got some quickness to him. It's got some he's got nice length too. He's 193, 31 3/8 arms, so almost 31 and a half. Yeah, 40.5-inch vert jump, 10-foot 5-inch broad, 4.44 40-yard dash. So good there as well. I liked him as well. Think of him as an outside player. I have him in the same kind of range as the guy we just talked about, Terrell, but just a little bit of a different flavor. But what'd you think about Hood?
Yeah, I like Colton Hood. He's an interesting player too. I can't really figure out like a good comp for him because what I wanted to see was I wanted to see if anyone would just run some agility drills, because that was kind of my question about him. Like, he's one of those guys where, like, press, like, if you gotta play press and like you gotta run with a go route, like, I trust you all day, but I still want to see some of like the lateral movement. But still, like the what he has now, I think it's obviously more than good enough to be a starter, because we see guys who have, it's not the biggest frame. He's 6 feet 193, but over 31-inch arms. He had the 4.44, 41-inch vertical, solid broad jump. That's kind of like what you want to see in terms of guys who are good at defending like some of the vertical stuff. Because I guess where I was thinking was, I see his comp on NFL.com's Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis is bigger than that. I was thinking kind of maybe like a Jerry Sneed type, or someone that maybe like grows into like that number one corner role. But there's enough here, especially in this class, to get him drafted in the first round. I guess I just want to see a little bit more out of maybe some of the man coverage stuff, but it's not like it was bad. It's just more just like, who here is my muse? Who here is my muse among this cornerback room? And not quite there, but still, that's definitely a first round pick probably in this year's class.
Yeah, frisky is how I described him. Because he's very competitive. Like, and I think I can see that Lance had the Davis comp. I can see that as far as play style, even if the bill's not the same. Yeah, because that's Carlton Davis's every snap is a freaking war for him. Yeah. It's a boxing fight every single snap. So like, and Hood's the same way, and he gets himself in trouble. Like, he doesn't play with any fear. and he's like a good tackler and everything, but he can kind of get himself in trouble because he like wants to win the hand fight. And then also, and he's a good athlete, but not, again, overwhelming as far as speed wise. And so sometimes he just kind of gets himself in trouble with that. But I liked him. I liked his awareness. I thought he could play man, could play zone. Just, consistent tackle. I'm trying to just think kind of like what my big knock on him is.
Some of the catch point stuff.
Speed.
Some of the catch point stuff was good too. I mean, it's just but I mean, like, but where I was like, I guess where I was stuck with him was like, man, like there have been so many good cornerbacks, like a good to elite cornerbacks, like with this exact problem. Like, shoot, how many times we see Richard Sherman get broke down by like some little shit this slot receiver? He's still gonna be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. Like you just mentioned the Carlton Davis, and like I fully understand like from a play style standpoint, because Carlton, like at his best, like if he can press and get vertical and be aggressive at the catch point, but you know if you have to ask him to cover a little return or a slant, sometimes he's gonna get cooked on that. But like that's still like CB1 stuff. So maybe this is all just nitpicking, and he ends up being one of those guys where you look back like, damn, that was kind of stupid of us.
I'm even reading my report. I'm like, what's my big knock on him? Why do I have him at 32? I was like, I know. I was even reading it. I'm like, I remember I liked you. Like I usually kind of fall for these kind of guys. I like the frisky corners, so it's kind of
I think it's Tennessee bias in my head because I'm out on any Tennessee skill player, and I have to remember not to let that bleed into the other position. I mean, like any quarterback, running back, wide receiver from Tennessee, like I'm done watching. Like until Josh Shupin moves on, like there's no point. It's the same guy. There's another Tennessee receiver this year. I'm sure I've seen him before. Yeah,
that's even adjacent to the offshoots of it, like at South Florida, the Byron Brown, and he transferred to Auburn with the same coach. And Byron Brown, by the way, like, God, he would have been fighting for QB3 for me in this class. It was that I was like, God, I was like, okay, I get it. This guy took a chance on you. You were able to start early, but I was like, can you not play in that offense, please, so I can actually scout you in just a non-bullshit offense for a year, please? Because like the moments when he's not doing that Tennessee stuff, it's like, oh, there's the traits. This is an NFL guy, and then it's like as soon as he does the frozen, long developing switch routes, I'm like, oh, this is just. I get it. You put up points, but it's just not football. I'm sorry. It's just its own thing. It's truly its own thing. Run game could be fun. At least sometimes it is.
Dude, the Tennessee O-line, I mean, it's Cade Bays. He just got paid. Darnell Wright, great offensive tackle. They've got another one, David Sanders, who's a true freshman. I mean, like, he's kind of funny to watch on tape because he very much looks like 18. Like, frame-wise, but then he hits someone, I'm like, oh, you're a lot stronger than that frame would suggest. So he's probably going to be a monster too. But man, like how many skill players have come in from that offense where, like in recent years, we got like Dylan Sampson last year. They had another receiver, Thornton, that went to the Raiders. Jalen Hyatt, who I covered.
Tillman's been solid, just had concussions.
Tillman's the best one though. And the the quarterbacks like Hendon Hooker, man, we debated that, and the Lions said no, actually we're not interested at all.
They took Teddy Bridgewater off the high school sideline before they put Hendon Hooker.
Seriously, but like I remember when Jalen Hyatt was drafted by the Giants, like kind of still covering some of the practices over there, and man, it's just so far behind. Like getting used to like the NFL space that he had to play with, it just never. It was too far behind to kind of get going. Like you have to kind of teach him a whole new game, and at that point, man, we're about to get fired, so we got to do something else.
It's so much development. So there's so many polished receivers now too. It's like you better be a absolute freak. Like Brazil this year has some freakiness to him, so I get it, but he's still a long way away too.
So did Dante Thornton.
All right, back. Yeah, same with Thornton. All right, back to corners. You like this next guy, Keontae Scott, Miami.
Yeah.
Can I give you your little one-liner on him? I think he's a fun slot, but what did you think about Scott?
Yeah. I think I have him at I think I'm like 25 on my big board because I didn't realize to be fully honest though, I didn't know he was like going to be a 25-year-old rookie until after we had published a big board because I watched him all season. And man, like that Miami defense was awesome. Like Corey Heatherman, the defensive coordinator, is definitely, you're going to hear his name like ascending through the ranks. Like whatever is higher than Miami defensive coordinator, he's going to get a chance to do it based on how quickly like that defense turned around. But they just had so many playmakers on that field, and Scott was just one of the top guys. I'm watching Scott like, man, like why is this guy not viewed as like a first round pick? I'm like, damn, touch for the big board. And I found out he's 25 years old, but still, I think this is another guy in this class who could be like a high floor starter. We just saw he had a pretty solid pro day. It wasn't the 4.24 that people were reporting, but still 4.34 with some solid jumps is going to do it. And I think the speed, like it shows up on tape because he's one of those guys where he's played a lot of football. You could tell he's played a lot of football, know, because he is all over the place. Like the one play that comes to mind was it Ohio State where he picked off the screen and brought it back for a touchdown? He split.
He's done that a few times where he's broken him up.
Yeah, he has. He splits the screen and just takes it back to the house, and like he's got the ball in his hand before they're even like set up to block it. And that kind of playmaking, even if it comes older, like you can find a role for that, even if it's not going to be maybe a first round pick. But in this class, shoot, could he be a second round pick? I kind of don't see why not. If you think that he can be like a day one starter in the slot, and we'll reassess this thing in a couple of years, could do worse than that on day two this year.
Yeah, I really liked him because he was just, again, so smart. And like you said, I'm glad that's exactly how I viewed him, was that once you saw him kind of break on the ball and read underneath plays and blow up screens, you're like, oh, okay, that's what really grew on me. And there's some twitch there too. It wasn't just because he was smart. It was like, no, you could see some burst. He's got good solid size. Like I feel like he can hold up in the slot. He can maybe try outside, moonlight him, but I think idealistically he is in the slot because he has that physicality. Yeah, I liked him. Like you said, maybe around 2. I had the late second, early third round grade on him. Like, oh my God, there's a whole group of guys we're about to talk about that basically have the same tier because there's so many guys. I'm like, yeah, I like him best in a slot. Yeah, I like him best in a slot. Yeah, I like him best in a slot. It's like one after another. But Scott, though, did really like, even with the older age, if you're just realistic about that. But that's kind of this draft class. Again, blemishes everywhere.
When I watch Scott, like the one sentence spiel on him is, it's just I reminded talking to Emory Hunt a long time ago, just about like you can learn all these schemes and you can learn this and that, but you want the guy who's around the ball a lot, on defense, like within reason, not one of these cornerbacks again dusted for 1,000 yards, but like when it's a downhill playmaker and they're always around the ball, those guys tend to figure out like the one. There's something to it. Like the draft guy that I fell in love with a long time ago was Mike Hilton. When I saw him at Ole Miss, I'm like, oh, this guy's so small, but he's always around the football. He always figures out some way to make a play on the ball. I mean, he played for a while, so maybe Keontae Scott can kind of do something like that in a little bit of a bigger frame.
Yeah, and he's not even just like a sawed-off dude either. Like, he actually has some size traits. So, it's fine. It's, I'd say, above average, but it's not a, like, oh, this guy's a little sawed-off. Like, just give him, he's got all heart and smarts. It's like, no, he's got some burst to him and some athleticism to him, and it's just that he's older. And that's just our new world we have to live in. This is going to be for the next 10 years we're going to be talking about until they kind of figure out 5 years and all that stuff. I'll talk about the next guy, kind of a riser, Chris Johnson from San Diego State. He was 40 on my board. And then I just said he's smooth. That's the best way I can describe him. Just like an easy mover, can really mirror guys. You can tell he's done the tennis ball tricks, so he doesn't, or drill, so he doesn't use his hands. Like, he's really good at mirroring and not using his hands. Really good balance. He can hold up in man. He's got good awareness to. I think it'd be a good zone corner as well. I just really think he looks like a good outside corner. Like, this is, again, we're talking about maybe not that elite CB1, but if you already have a guy and you're like, God, we've been trying to find a CB2 for, like the Falcons, we've been trying to find a CB2 for forever. This is the guy. And I think he has some scheme versatility and athleticism that's like, he's going to be appealing to a lot of guys, or a lot of teams, I should say. He tested that. He was 6 foot, 193. God, seems like every guy's the same size. 35 inch. Everybody's 6 foot, 193. But 4'4", 38 inch for, got some good bench press numbers, 10.5 inch broad, or 10.5 foot broad. I'm sorry. Just smooth. I just can't get over that. But not finessey. Like, actually, it has some physicality. It's just that he's a technician, but has the athleticism with it. So I really liked him. A guy that I watched late before we did our last big board. And I could see the appeal with him. So, yeah, I hit him at 40 on my last board. But yeah, kind of that range that we're talking about. Like I have him above Scott because he can play on the outside, probably closer to Hood, but I prefer Hood a little bit more. But he would be the next outside corner I would look at after Hood. Have you watched Johnson?
Yeah, he's solid. It's just like you said. I don't have anything to add. Yeah, he's in that tier.
Yeah.
I mean, like all these guys, like Chris Johnson, like Scott Johnson, South Carolina corner Brandon Cisse, and then D'Angelo Ponce from Indiana. Like those guys are all in some way, shape, or form projected to be solid. Like solid starters you'd like to have. I do have one guy though I like late that maybe hasn't been as much. Throw him in here. Damani Jackson from Alabama. He's had an interesting path. Because I've seen him ranked like low on big boards, but he's kind of, to me, he kind of checks the boxes of guys, someone who might get drafted a little bit higher, maybe the people are expecting. Because one, like he's got the pedigree, a top 10 prospect coming out of high school, went to USC back when they weren't playing too much defense over there, the Alex Grinch years before Lincoln had to get him up out of there, and it kind of looked like that at USC.
Mike Riley stat padding defense.
Yes.
Not Mike Riley. Lincoln Riley. I'm sorry, Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley. Defense. Mike Nolan stat padding defense. But he transferred to Alabama, and man, you could just kind of see there's some guys where you realize it was coaching at the last spot, because as soon as he got to Alabama, it's like, oh, okay, like this is why you were ranked high. It's not like you ever became like this true shutdown cornerback, but this year, I mean, like I've seen him mocked or not mocked, like big boards like the 150s. Like I'm like, man, I could see him getting drafted higher because he's got the size, he's got the speed. He ran 4.41. He had a 1.58 10-yard split. He's got pedigree, being a former top 10 pick, and then kind of started to put it together this year where you can see like the potential down the road. So Damani Jackson would be my guy, like the starting cornerback for the Alabama Crimson Tide as my dart throw.
Who wears number one?
Number one.
No one's heard of that.
Former 5-star. No one's ever thought of this guy.
San Diego, by the way. I got to talk to our guy Deontay if he knows all these guys. There's so many guys from San Diego going to other schools and everything. No, he's a good one. I get it with the traits. He's got length. He's got some good size and everything too. I had him as kind of like a late round 3, early round 4 guy. The other guys, I'll hit on these kind of last ones that we just grazed over before we get to safeties. But Brandon Cisse from South Carolina, I really cooled on him. He barely made my top 50. I think he was 50. I've really cooled on him. I think another guy that has to move to the slot. Just didn't see that like recognition. Like it was like the like route would be happening, and he would just like. He would kind of have that pause, and then he would break on it, and you could see some burst in athleticism, but it's just like, I don't want that. I would rather have the guy that's pretty aware of what routes he's getting, especially once he gets them consistently. So I just kept cooling on him because I couldn't figure. I was like, are you a safety? Are you I just don't think he's an outside corner. I think he has to move inside somewhere. But yeah, I kind of cooled on him. But D'Angelo Ponce, feisty, I've seen the Antoine Winfield Sr. comparisons, and I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of get it. Not very big, but like just so feisty and aware, and I mean, just a football player. I have to keep him in my top 50. Understand if he goes higher or lower than that, because I just really like him. And actually, these guys that we just kind of touched on, along with guys like Keith Abney from Arizona State, who I actually really liked. He can get a little handsy, but he's easy moving. He can turn. He can play inside, outside. He's physical. He can hit, tackle. He can blitz. But these guys that maybe don't have the size, the ideal size that we talked about, like these upper echelon guys that we've scouted. PS2 would be another guy. He's probably number 2 after Ramsey for me, the best kind of corners I've ever watched. But those guys have picturesque, ideal traits. 32-inch arms, can move 6'1", 207. They check every box. PS2 is getting coached by Saban, and he's the son of PS1. It's like he was like the guy. And actually went corner 2 in that class, don't forget. But why I'm bringing that all up is for years and years and years, especially for me and you, probably when our NFL brain kind of professionally turned on, it was everybody was running the Seahawks defense, kind of cover one, cover three, cover one, cover three, single high. And then everybody was populating from there and going, well, we need guys that are built like Richard Sherman. We need 32-inch arms, and we need these long guys. So guys are getting overdrafted in every round that like legit couldn't play football, but they looked the part. I'm thinking of the guy,
Stanford corner,
Drummond.
The St. Juice.
Benjamin St. Juice.
Saints. Yeah, it's terrible. Desmond Southworth, Falcons.
Yeah. Desmond Southworth,
Jalen Collins.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. No, the one guy I think it's Drummond is the guy I always think of. The Michigan State guy. I think the Vikings drafted. I might be blank.
Oh yes, I do remember him. Trey Wayne's like he was not
Trey
not
Wayne's.
quite
That's
the
what
same
I'm thinking
thing.
of.
Trey Wayne's was one. You got Jalen Collins. Pete Carroll drafted the boy out of Iowa State last year.
Porter.
He was Darian Porter. Yeah. So those guys, hey, you were making a lot of money if you were like 6'2", 200, and you could run. Like you were getting paid, man, just off rip.
If you ran a 4 and change and had 32-inch arms, you were getting drafted at worst round 3. You were getting day 1, day 2 all day. But I looked it up, and it was because Kobe Durant, how the Rams played, and maybe even how like Trent McDuffie is, and these guys that aren't the biggest and ideal picturesque frames were impactful last year. And how the Seahawks play, Devin Witherspoon I just brought up, and he can play on the outside. I thought he was going to just be a slot dynamo, and now he's doing both. So because everyone's running kind of more cover 2, cover 6, they can cloud his side. I just brought up Anton Winfield Sr. He was the ideal, perfect cover 2 corner because he just you're the force defender when you're that, in the run game, whatever. But I'll talk about that later. But you don't need the long limbed freaks anymore. It opens up because you run cover 2, cover 6. It opens up more body types and play styles to play corner again. And so I've kind of had to reconfigure that. Not everyone has to have that picture perfect 31-inch arms, 31 and change, like 30-inch arm guys. I'm kind of like, hey, can they play? Because if they can, okay, you don't have to be the longest and biggest because cover 2, cover 6 can kind of hide those deficiencies. You're not running vertically with a guy that's 6'3" and can run a 4.2. You can you pass them off. It's more awareness and quickness and twitchiness as opposed to long speed and length. And I even looked. So I can look back to 2018 and Next Gen Stats as coverage data. But in 2025, last year, for anyone that doesn't know, 42% of the time defenses were running split safety, which means cover 2, cover 4, cover 6, or 2-man. 23% cloud, which means cover 2 or cover 6. In 2018, which is the earliest again that I could look at, that was the tail end of kind of the single high world because the Shanahan offenses were putting it in the sharpshooter, mandible claw, whatever you want to say. 32% split safety, so 10% fewer, and 18% cloud, so about 5% less. Again, that's the league shift. Everyone, single high is going to have a place everywhere. But as teams do more of this cloud stuff and inverted stuff, like this kind of skill set kind of has, I wouldn't say risen for me, but hasn't been, I don't drop it as much as I used to, if that makes sense. Like it kind of, I've weighed these guys a little bit differently. So I just kind of wanted to get that out because a few of these guys, like Keith Abney was what made me really think of this, because I was like, I don't like you as a perfect outside corner, but actually you're feisty and you're aware, and I think you could fit in this kind of defense. So that's my little rant about sizes and everything right now. I had to look it up. Yeah, he's 5'10", 187, 30-inch arms. But I was like, man, I don't know. I think you can hang on the outside because it's just how you play. But yeah, he was the other guy I looked at. And then was there, where's my guy from Duke? Chandler Rivers was the other guy from Duke. Really good play recognition, small, compact, has short arms. Probably best in the slot, but he's another one, this group of kind of round 2, round 3 guys that I like as more football players than maybe all their traits kind of put together. So any others you want to mention, or you want to get to safeties?
Let's get to safeties. I'm about.
Let's get to safeties.
Takes.
At least there's only a couple safeties. It's fun. All right, we're gonna take our last break and we'll come back. Right, I know, seriously, there's like 4 we're gonna talk about, but we'll get back to safeties after the break. See you guys in a sec. All right, we are back after I had that sip of water that almost killed me. But before we hop into safeties, Yahoo is the home of the 2026 Indoor Football League, the IFL, and the season is already in full swing. I called a game out in Fishers, Indiana, between the Fishers Freight and the Quad Cities Steamwheelers. That was actually a lot of fun. You have a defensive battle in the IFL, but I'll be calling a few more games this season, a few in Vegas. But if you like me and already miss real football and you like Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton, come check out the IFL and the Yahoo Sports Network. Find it all your major free streaming apps, Prime Video, Samsung, LG, Plex, or on yahoosports.tv. This weekend, we have the San Diego Strike Force versus the Arizona Rattlers. Rattlers is kind of the prestige name of the IFL, of the indoor leagues. And then on Sunday, we got the Vegas Nighthawks, my local team, against the Tucson Sugar Skulls. Make sure that check out those games Saturday and Sunday at yahoosports.tv or wherever you get your major free streaming apps, or fast, I should say. All right, let's get to safeties. I need a safety after every ad read. All right, current safety rankings. Caleb Downs, super high for everybody. Cool football player, smart football player. Maybe not the same as some of these other high-end safeties that have been drafted. He might go lower than we expect because that's what happens with safeties. What'd you think of Caleb Downs, though, as like your official scouting take on him other than cool football player?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like,
cool football player?
Really good. Cool football player.
I know.
I mean,
it's kind of hard to describe him, right? Because you're just like, he's cool and he's good. I don't know. So like,
I mean,
go with it.
he might. I mean, to me, like he's been arguably the best defensive back in football since like day one freshman year at Alabama. And that was one of those things where it's like, where you see someone who's hyped up and then Nick Saban says, hey, you're 17 and you're going to play every snap on defense. And that was one of those things like, oh, like you have an older brother who's in the NFL, Josh, the receiver for the Colts. And you are the best football player in your family. That's kind of interesting because, Josh is steady starting receiver. Good good player. And his 17-year-old brother was better than him at the time. And really, like, it's kind of hard because he's played so much football and it's all been so good. But honestly, the moment to me that lets you know like how certified this dude is was after Alabama beat Georgia in the SEC title game in Nick Saban's final year, before they lost to Michigan. Everyone knew that, Kirby, obviously, like, with his relationship with Nick, he knew that he was about to, step down after the season. And you see after that game, Alabama beats Georgia. Like, Georgia's, chance to go to the CFP is over. Kirby makes a beeline towards Caleb Downs, shakes his hands, and, obviously I was like, hey, we know you're about to leave, but let's talk about this, right? Because Kirby was seeing, oh my God, like for a year I could have Malachi Starks and Caleb Downs on the same defense. And it looked like it was going that way. And at the last second, Ohio State dropped the bag. And that was that. And now you got to see like what he was able to do at Ohio State. It was same at Alabama. He's really good. I think I compared him to like, and I just didn't really know what to do with like the body type, I guess. I compared him to like just a mix of like Bob Sanders and Troy Polamalu, which is just so absurdly high in praise.
Bob Sanders is a fun comparison, though.
Yeah, hopefully he stays healthier. Yeah, and yeah. I mean, that's sadly a pretty low bar. But like, dude, at his best, Bob was a defensive player of the year.
Defensive player of the year.
Yeah, 5'8". Yeah, 5'8", yep. Playing strong safety, defensive player of the year. And I like I fail to see a world where like the floor is like a 10-year starter that's like quality and
the floor is Buda Baker.
It's the floor is Buda Baker. The ceiling is like legit Hall of Fame player. The only reason that he's not going to be like a top 3 pick is because he's a safety. But man, yep. I still think. I mean, look at how much like Alontae Taylor got paid. And, I know that was like a lot of money, but I still feel like there's some room between like how much these slot guys are getting paid and where they're getting drafted, and also, their actual impact on the field. Because like we see like, man, like it really does help when you can have a guy who can play that role and be really effective in it and play forward and also play back, playing, single high if you need him to. To me, it's going to end up being a really valuable player, and maybe we'll feel like we overthought it, but I just really struggle to see how he's bad in the NFL. Like it's just been so good since day one. Like the pedigree here, the amount of good football played for like multiple NFL schemes now. I don't know. No, I don't even really have much to say. He's so good.
That I'm glad that the last line you just said, multiple NFL schemes, whether it was Saban's, which is quarters heavy, too high heavy, or Patricia, which was kind of its own thing, kind of, they did a little bit of everything. So a lot of cover two in there, inverted stuff. He got used as what I called, and this, I haven't heard a different term, rover might be a different term, but monster back is the term I learned in the 90s when I was a kid, which is just, it's a classic middle role when teams they would just have a safety basically go ball. Back when football was a lot simpler and passing concepts were just go balls, and variations of go balls. It was basically find ball, see, or get ball. They were free to read the play. That's why I always keep coming back to Budda Baker, because that's the one guy that gets used like that in the NFL right now. They have the same build as well. Antoine Winfield Jr. is another little comparison for him, where, he could be a blitzer. He blows up screens. You can play him too high. You can kind of just do a little bit of everything. He can be part of a funky scheme.
So strong, man.
It's hard for me. It's weird because to me, he's like a safety box player as opposed to a safety slot. And I know that sounds specific. Yeah. Not that I don't think he can play in the slot, but I best use his gifts between the hashes. If that makes sense, just between the tackles. Like that's where because get him close to the ball because he can read the ball and make plays. So I really
we're
like him.
thinking the same thing. I was just describing like it's where he's placed, a general area.
No, you're fine. I was just kind of I'm just doing my rambling thing.
I guess the one thing that's the only thing I guess I have that like it's always really stood out to me is the strength, man. Like he is so strong, like at the point of attack.
It's a good tackler,
and just no fear coming as a tackler, and it's the stopping power, that really kind of gets you excited. So, hey, man, he might fall out the top 10. To me that would be insane in this class. Like, man, like because at some point you're just getting like we're passing up on. We're just taking worse players than Caleb Downs.
Yes,
I would love to see him in like Spags defense at 9. If like that's available there, I think he'd be a nice fit there.
Okay.
Like the idea
that would be a good one.
Like the Chiefs. Yeah, like the Chiefs. Man, the Chiefs are sitting pretty, man. Like they got a chance to like potentially have like Ruben Bain if he falls, or like Caleb Downs. Just because I feel like people
they could be the first team to take a receiver. They could they could go line.
Yeah, it's just I understand like the positional value stuff, and I'm not saying he's going to be like a top 3 pick or anything, but man, like 10 teams are going to pass on Caleb Downs. That would be kind of crazy to me this year.
And there's other interesting safeties which we're about to talk about, but it's like Downs, I don't know. Even if he doesn't always like come up with like 20 tackles and a pick and everything, he just like impacts the game. You like just I don't know. It's almost having like an awesome center. I don't know, like a defense, like an awesome defensive center, where it's like he opens up everything else for everybody else. Like he gives a boost effect to everybody else because he's just so smart and like just knows where to be around the ball. I was just looking up safeties that have been drafted high since 2002, which I consider kind of the modern NFL once they went to 32 teams. So Sean Taylor, pick 5, rest in peace, who is an all-time freak, an all-time, just one of the greatest athletes to ever play football.
Alien.
Eric Berry, pick 5, back in 2010 to the Chiefs. Hell of a player.
I was watching some of his college stuff. That was a time, man. Like the Eric Berry Tebow collision, I still remember that like vividly.
Dude, Eric Berry was
15 years ago.
His college stuff was some of the coolest plays ever. I mean, NFL player, he was awesome too, but one of the coolest college players ever. Who else we got? LaRon Landry. LaRon Landry. That's a name I haven't thought about for.
He had a little
Jamal
cyst
Adams.
there, you know.
You think?
Just a little one.
I know. Oh man, he can wrestle in 1993 WWF. There's about 5 people that'll get that joke, but yeah. Who we have? Michael Huff. Remember that name? Mark Barron, who converted to safety or to linebacker. Roy Williams, who infamously, I believe, is where the horse collar tackle became a thing, was because of Roy Williams, if I remember correctly. Dante Whitner, Isaiah Simmons. Intro roll was a corner.
Was the first
Rod Woodson
pick.
was a corner, converted safety. Minka Fitzpatrick was pick 11. Minka was pick 11. That's play style comparison. That's they're not built the same, but play style comparison, very smart, centrally located. Yeah. And he went pick 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally found a guy that kind of play style comparison is similar to that. Okay. There we go. Sorry. That was just for my own brain.
I'm
glad I put that in here.
2018. What year was
or
that?
2018?
That was the Baker, Darnold, Rosen, Josh Allen. So still 4 quarterbacks went before him, you know? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah.
And Barkley did too?
4 quarterbacks. Yes, Saquon Barkley did. Bradley Chubb, Quentin Nelson, Roquan. I mean, Nelson. That feels like
kind of a funky guard and a running back and a safety all going high. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Quentin Nelson.
Who are the receivers in that class?
Discussion there.
Was that
the receivers? Oh. Shoot, we had DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley. Oh, okay, man.
Okay.
Cortland Sutton. God damn, this is a long time ago. Dante Pettis, round 2. Wow.
Pettis.
Wow. Yeah, Anthony Miller to the Bears. Okay. Damn.
2018 is my one blind spot year, which is so funny because it was such a quarterback class.
Okay.
Because I was.
You want to know how this draft is dated? Because DJ Chark was a second-round pick in that class. He retired this week.
Oh, he just retired. We'll always have the Gardner Minshew, the DJ Chark scam that went on. But no, I think we're both in agreement. I think if he gets packed like early teens, I would be shocked. But that safeties are just weird, you know, how teams consider him and everything and specific. But he's just a very good football player. It's just I can't get more than that. I know it's safety. I know it's not the slot rangy Kyle Hamilton kind of guy. I don't know, or Derwin James. You know, he's just kind of his own thing. And I think that's why the Minka kind of comparison is maybe my most similar one I could get. Also a former Alabama guy. All right, let's get into the next 2. They're kind of tiered the same. I had them, I think, at 20 and 21 or 21 and 22 because asked me on a different day and I'll prefer a different guy. We got Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo. Another Toledo DB, potentially a first round. And then we got Dylan Tiedemann from Oregon, who blew it up at the combine. Plays as he's like a good athlete on film, but I think even tested better than I was expecting. But these 2, McNeil, Warren, Tiedemann, who'd you have above, and maybe what your thoughts are on both of them?
You know me, size king. Had Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I had ranked ahead of Dylan Tiedemann. Dude, I don't know. This guy, he's gigantic, and he hits hard. Like he plays like he looks. You know, yeah.
Yep.
You know, because this feels insane to say now. Maybe not. I mean, depending on who you're talking to, but like he looks better to me than like Nicky Manwari last year, where a lot of the plays you're just like, oh, I don't know. Like he kind of like the problem Cisse has, you know, his teammate at South Carolina from last year. It's like, man, I don't know what you're looking at all the time. I don't know like why you're not playing with conviction. I don't feel that way about this guy like at all. McNeil Warren from Toledo, I feel like it would be fine like taking him back half the second round. Like, and honestly, I kind of understand if he kind of gets like Keanu Neal, like the Falcons did back in 2016, we're just like, oh man, like really like this guy and he's a perfect fit for our defense. Maybe we'll just take him at 17. I don't know, and just put him there and have that kind of be a fixture for our defense. Keanu was good until his knees, kind of fell apart on him, and hopefully that doesn't happen with McNeil Warren, because man, it's kind of fun to see like that throwback kind of style where coming home with bad intentions, and I think he sees the field well too. So. Man, I like the hit stickers, so I put him above Tiedemann. But like, they're just like two just different players. It's like
way different.
This is like perfect. Like pick your flavor or what do you need?
Yeah, that's why I keep tearing them the same. McNeil Warren, I gave the slight bump because I just love this tape. It's so much fun. Like he's length. He saws guys off. He's flying into the box. He's trying. Sometimes he can do a little too much ankle tackling, but then sometimes he'll just knock a guy out, kind of just like a little bit of both. But didn't take me long. Like I put on the Toledo film and I never had to look up his number. Like, who am I watching? It was just like, oh, that guy, the 6'3.5" safety flying down and teeing off on somebody. Like, and to me, it's like he's not like this, but it's like almost want to use him like Cam Chancellor, where it's like I could play him in the post, but I want him rotating down. I want him rotating down into the box. Like he's like a single high box safety, ideally. And I know that's just a specific thing. I think you can get a lot of use out of him there. But the thing is, when he's on the back half or in the back end, he's blown up seams. Like tight ends are terrified of him. He can hang with receivers and hang. I mean, again, he was going against the MAC, but he can hang with guys because he's such a good athlete and so long. He tested well. He ran a 4.52, 35.5-inch vert, 10.2 broad, so solid to good athlete. But he's just so big and long, 32-inch arms, 6'3.5", like I said. So I just liked him because I think I can picture his role where he can guard tight ends man to man, which is always useful. He can play in the box if you want to go lighter body. So if you go dime, he can be your dime backer and play in the box there. He can play on the back end in a single high. I feel like I'll be comfortable with him in a quarter scheme because then you're just reading it two ways. Maybe don't want him turning and running vertical. Yeah, like because he can come downhill, kind of just do the best of both worlds kind of thing. Maybe deep speed might get him because longer guys, they can have issues flipping their hips. I'm talking about those Seahawks corners, but flipping their hips and kind of getting back. But that's kind of, again, we're nitpicking there. But you mentioned his range. Yeah, any time after pick 17, like I'm comfortable taking him. Like his range could be anywhere from there to early second, but I really like McNeil Warren. And the Tiedemann, again, I mean, he's got good size. I consider him in the same tier, 6 foot, 201. Tested like crazy, 4.35, 41-inch vert, 10.5 broad, good bench, true quarter safety. Like that's where I like you run quarters or cover 6, cover 2, cover 4, 2 high split shell safety. Like I think we mocked him on our last mock. We had him going to the Seahawks. And like that, just throw another body in there where he can maybe throw in the slot. He can come in and he can kind of just do a little bit of everything. And I like his recognition. I just think he's like a true two-way player. So I think McNeil's stuff was maybe more a little highlighty. Maybe that's what gave me that little bump to him. But I really like Tiedemann too, because I just think he's like a true two-way guy that could be good. Kind of centrally located is another way to put it.
Yeah, he's someone that I kind of had to give another chance because I guess I'm always kind of wary when. Like there's a player at a big school, it's got playoff aspirations, and I the first I'm really hearing from you, like, oh, you're gonna be first round pick is after the season. I was like, man, I guess I kind of got to go back because a lot of this hype came after the season was over, leading up into the combine. But man, it's there. Like he's a better player than I kind of thought going in, and like you said, different player, but again. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. Maybe it's not as explosive like at the point of attack as McNeil Warren, but still just a guy who does a lot of things well. I think could play at worst any spot in a pinch, which is again that's kind of the versatility that you're looking for in today's defense. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up because this is like McNeil Warren. What do you need? And kind of what's your defense tailored toward? But having someone who can do a little bit of everything is going to get you drafted high, especially with those athletic traits.
Yeah, he was a big recruit from Purdue. It was that I think in Purdue he got used differently, where I was able to make more splash plays, especially on the back end. They used him in more single high stuff, where he was coming down with the ball and being more of a ball hawk type. And this one he was more of a filler, if that makes sense, coming downhill. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of always had him kind of as just outside the top 30 kind of guy. He was always on my next 5 or next 10 when I was doing lists and everything, but kind of just warmed up to him. The testing really helped me kind of go, okay, I'll give you that little bit of half bump on there. I do like the versatility to be able to, I've seen him now do so much different stuff. And I think I think maybe why it doesn't have that, there's that wow factor. I think McNeil Warren has with some of the plays, and maybe I'm just weighing that a little too much. But I think Thiemann's solidness is nice, and the fact that he tested well also helps too. Last guy I want to throw in here. There's a few others, but the guy that really captured my attention was Traden Stukes from Arizona. Traden Stukes from Arizona. Big, long, good athlete. I think he is ideal in the slot. Another guy, another older guy, redshirt senior type, got good size. What was he? 6'1", 190. But I like him best in the slot or as a 2 high safety as well, where he can play 2-way. But I liked him. I think I had him more as like I considered him more as a round 3 guy, but I've kind of warmed to him more as a round 2 guy, and probably will be in my top 50. We'll be doing more than top 50 next time, but probably enter my top 50 just barely. But yeah, I liked him as a slot player. He's dynamic. He's smart. Just was around the ball a lot. He tested very well, which also helps. But like he's a 6-year senior. He was a walk-on and he was a captain. Kind of know what you're getting, but then he tested real well as well, so that kind of helps out as well. But just kind of I like him. I like him as a slot. I like him as a safety. I just like this guy as a day 2 guy. We talked about all those kind of corner slot variants. He's the safety slot variant of this class for me. And I like that. I think he's kind of that top kind of safety slot hybrid as opposed to the corner slot guys like we talked about in the last section. So just want to throw out Stukes in there because I really warmed him as I watch more, even if he is a little older. But that's it. Back 7.
I'll throw one dart out here just one as a Go Dogs fan. I think Dalen Everett, the cornerback who started for 4 years, I think he made a better safety in the NFL than cornerback. He was a guy who's a 5-star cornerback. It took him a couple years to get going at the cornerback stuff. But then, I would say over like the last year and a half of his career at Georgia, really showed out, like especially once they started, playing Texas. I think the first year Texas was in the SEC. That was kind of like his breaking out party, and they kind of figured out from there. But you see some traits, like you definitely see like the athleticism that got him ranked so high coming out of high school, but more geared towards like moving forward, be able to blitz and break down on passes. So maybe he's a guy that could play safety in the NFL because the corner stuff's a little shaky, but got some traits, and that's fun. There's not too many guys this year that I feel too passionately about at this position, but maybe he's a guy that could flip. And I say that just because I watched like every game he played in college.
Yeah, we talked about South Carolina DBs. Jalen Kilgore's interesting because he's traitsy and toolsy. 6'1", 210, almost 33-inch arms, freak at the combine, 10-10 broad, 4'4", 40. He's another one as interesting kind of later day 2 guy. Because he's got traits. And I'm kind of one of these things like, all right, maybe there's a South Carolina discount with the Emanuel that you can maybe get with him. But yeah, he's another guy that I was interesting. Zaki Wheatley from Penn State, another guy in this kind of round 3-ish range for me. I like Kilgore a little bit more. And then my favorite day 3 guy is Lewis Moore from Indiana. Just smart and just a ball hawk kind of type.
Smart
just
Indiana
like him.
player. Just copy and paste.
I like the Indiana guys, man. Maybe just a sucker for the wins, but they coach them up well there. All right, Chuck, that was fun. Knocked out the defense. Back 7.
Sure did.
What we did? Almost an hour and a half. We're good. It was good. It was juicy. But we're closing it out today. I'll be back on Tuesday with Derek Klassen from The Athletic. We'll be talking quarterbacks, quarterbacks. That'll be fun. Talk about our QB2, QB3. I'm going to assume QB1 is Fernando Mendoza for both of us because it is for me and in his own tier pretty easily.
Who's Derek's agent?
Yeah. We got to figure it out. I think I might have every time we talk prospects, I have to have everyone state their agency apparently now. I think the quarterback discussion is more fun talking about the day 3 guys. I don't know. I'm going to prep Derek. Yeah. I might spend a little too much on the day 3 guys than he probably wants, but
yeah, I mean, the Ty Simpson discussion there should be fun.
Oh, yeah, it should. We're only a week past the discourse.
Discussion on day 3. Yeah.
Day 3. I know. I loved our social account going like, actually, Yahoo has Garrett Nussmeier as QB2. I was like, thanks, guys. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we do.
Perfect day to post that. But yeah, we'll have some good talks on the QBs next week. It'll be fun with Derek, our guy. But I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice on social media. That is Charles McDonald. You can find me at 4verts on Blue Sky. Make sure to subscribe to us, follow us, rate us, please. 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. Leave some comments, replies. Really, really like those. Watch us on YouTube, on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to that as well. Would really appreciate it. I know some of you guys check us out there, but thanks to everyone behind the scenes for making us look and sound good. Always doing a great job as we do these prospect deep dives. But thanks for everyone for listening. Have a great weekend. See you guys next time for some quarterbacks. Later.